Well, good morning, my friends. And foes, if you're watching, a good morning to you too. I think it's a great time to have a gut check. And that includes you, my foes. We wake up today on Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, and we have seen Democratic domination across the United States. We can afford ourselves a little bit of time to relish in the victories. I like to say that I woke up with a combination of elation and determination to make sure that we replicate these successes in every way possible across America as we continue to move forward with an incredible campaign of policies that benefit all Americans regardless of political affiliation. I will say that on my social media platforms, I posted the following this morning. Today's word of the day is rebuke. As a verb, it means to criticize sharply, to reprimand, to turn back or keep down. As a noun, it means an expression of strong disapproval, a reprimand. I think that's exactly what we saw happen yesterday when it came to the races in places like Virginia, New Jersey, and even a ballot measure called Prop 50 in California. I want to talk about, though, some of the initial data points that have come out of these critical races and why we can extrapolate on a larger scale from those wins. Democrats improved their margins with non-college educated voters. That's a really important, nuanced thing that we need to be looking at. Younger voters, communities of color, non-college educated voters. I think there's been this kind of common parlance messaging that we've been hearing from the navel-gazing that happened post-November 2024 about our ability to penetrate and reach some of those particular voting blocks. And again, maybe voting block is the wrong phrase to use, but in the interest of efficiency for this episode, I'll use it. The idea that when we've seen people like Abigail Spanberger, who ran on a campaign of affordability, public safety, and reproductive freedom, it's kind of interesting if you think those three pillars of her campaign are truly non-party specific, even reproductive freedom. You may think that the Democrats have staked their claim to that idea, but in reality, even Republicans want the reproductive freedom to do what? To choose for themselves what they should do. We've seen that. It doesn't take rocket science to know that a concept like reproductive freedom is one that wins when it shows up on ballots across the U.S. But let's go back to affordability and public safety, because that was also a major part, a major pillar of Mikey Sherrill's campaign in New Jersey. But I want to take a second to think about the opponents that Spanberger and Sherrill were facing in their gubernatorial races in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Let's start with Winsome Sears. She didn't get the Trump endorsement, but she's the freaking lieutenant governor of the state of Virginia. So she goes in cloaked with the presumption of incumbency, with the idea that she should be able to ascend and take over the mantle of the gubernatorial seat for the state of Virginia. We saw Trump immediately, through his surrogates, decry Winsome Sears' loss in Virginia by stating that she was a, quote, bad candidate, bad campaign, perfect example of why it didn't work for her. And yet, look, even if Trump was smart enough not to put his stamp of approval on Winsome Sears, the reality is we know that she was running on the same policy ideas that are Trump specific. She ran on a war on woke. Even though there was no explicit Trump endorsement, we all know she was just echoing what has currently become the kind of battle cry of Republicans these days. And you know what I've also been saying lately? I don't even think we should call it the Republican Party. I think we should just call it the MAGA Party, because true Republicans don't exist anymore. But let's shift our focus to New Jersey. Because Mikey Sherrill's opponent, Jack Ciattarelli, he was a full-blown Trump endorsement. He wore that endorsement like it was some fucking badge of honor. And yet Mikey Sherrill, trounced Ciattarelli in New Jersey in a race that a lot of people thought was going to be a lot closer. But in the end, it wasn't. So take from that what you will. Either the explicit Trump endorsement doesn't work, or the Trump suggestion of Trump policies don't work. Either way, the common denominator in that is Trump. So when we talk about a rebuke, we're talking about a Trump rebuke. Let's look at a few more things. Not only were those double-digit victories in Virginia and New Jersey for Spanberger and Sherrill that we just talked about, did you know, and I talked about this last night on the Contrarian Substack Live that I did with the amazing Jen Rubin and April Ryan, I was focusing on a place called Georgia. Georgia's a very interesting state because Georgia has a democratically elected mayor, a Democrat, who's been elected as mayor and got reelected. But there were 2 seats on something called the Georgia Public Service Commission that were flipped to Georgia Democrats. The Public Service Commission does what? It actually sets Georgia's utility rates. Such a critical thing to look at, right? It shows that Georgia voters care about affordability and the economy. Now, you may say, Katie, pump the brakes. We talked about economy in the 2024 race. We knew that was a Biden economy. It was an amazing economy with Biden. We talked about the facts, the numbers, the statistics, the evidence, right? And then we had Kamala talk about how amazing the economy was too. So, Katie, how can you possibly say that affordability and the economy are things that can carry the day for Democrats? Well, folks, it's not just coming from me. You're looking at empirical proof positive that works. Mikey Sherrill, Abigail Spanberger, Georgia Public Service Commission seats. People care about their dollars. Now, listen, I also said last night that the old adage, timing is everything, really rang true, did it not? We are now waking up to day 36 of the government shutdown. It has now become historically the longest government shutdown in our nation's history. The previous record was set at the end of December of 2018 into January of 2019. That was a 35-day government shutdown. That badge of shame is worn by the Republicans. And the Republicans are waking up today saying, what the fuck just happened? Because they're hearing it. They're getting an earful from their constituents. We see the lines getting longer at the food banks. We see the lines getting longer for people needing help. We see people scared about getting notifications that open enrollment is happening now, but hey, your health insurance premiums have now tripled or doubled. It doesn't take rocket science to figure out that people care right now about being in the midst of being furloughed, laid off, illegal firings in the context of these shutdowns. We also see inescapably that, well, shit, that big bullshit bill, courtesy of Trump and the Republicans, it's sending so much money to an immigration enforcement campaign that is relentless. That's still going on even as we vote Democrats into roles and positions and offices of critical importance. So thanks for nothing, Donald Trump. Timing is everything, and that's what the Democrats seized upon. Debt from credit cards isn't an accident. It's actually a system that's built to keep Americans down. The banks profit, the creditors win, and the families lose. So every call, every fee, every high interest trap is another reminder that this game is rigged. But there's another side to the story. PDS.com has helped hundreds of thousands of people fight back, cutting their debt, stopping those horrible calls, and putting money back where it belongs, in your pockets and not in the banks. Whether you're struggling with credit cards, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS Debt is here to give you custom options to get you out of that debt. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation, and they help craft a personalized solution for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, to get out of debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. PDS Debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, has hundreds of thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, and a 5-star status on Trustpilot. Why? Because PDS Debt has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. Look, if I were in that situation, I would most certainly use this product to help me get out of my debt. It's your money, it's your future, so don't let the system decide for you. You're only 30 seconds away from being able to be debt-free. Get your free assessment and find the best option that's available for you at pds.com/Phang. That's spelled Phang. pds.com/Phang. Just in case you didn't get it, pds.com/Phang, spelled Phang. Democrats also flipped a pair of Republican-held state Senate seats in Mississippi. 3 Pennsylvania Supreme Court justices kept their seats in a retention vote. All 3 are Democrats. And as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, California's Prop 50, of which I was a very proud surrogate, even though I don't live in California, that also passed 2/3 to 1/3. Yes to no. That has secured California 5 additional seats for the Democratic Party's House margins ahead of the 2026 midterms. It's inescapable, right? During Trump's last midterm cycle in 2018, in Trump term 1.0, Democrats picked up 40 House seats. Interestingly, Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill were a part of that blue wave. In Virginia, Democrats flipped at least 13 seats in the House of Delegates. In that attorney general race, Democrat Jay Jones won by at least 6 points, even and in spite of a last-minute campaign issue involving text messages that he had sent. Across the state of Virginia, virtually every county shifted blue from former Vice President Kamala Harris's 2024 performance. It's Virginia. It's adjacent to D.C. It has so many federal workers. It's got pissed off people. I don't care why you vote. I just want you to vote. And I want you to vote because you're either determined to satisfy and scratch that itch of anger, or you are determined to be able to deliver a country that is going to be better for yourself, for your children, for your family, for your neighbors, for your loved ones, and for total strangers. That is the message from the Democrats that we're seeing from yesterday. I want to spend a little bit of time as well talking about this idea that Zohran Mamdani, who exceeded for the first time since 1969, we had millions of people voting, and Mamdani got more than 1 million votes of yes to become the New York City mayor. I'm always careful about extrapolating from a city like New York and trying to say, hey, you know what? That's some type of big sign of kind of like a bigger kind of push nationally. I don't know if we can do that comfortably, but I can say this. I shared my thoughts last night on that Substack Live with April Jen and all of you that tuned in about the idea that labeling candidates as, quote, progressives may be a little problematic right now. Because I'm not quite sure why the idea of people getting a livable wage is so radical. Or the idea of people having access to affordable health care is so radical. Or the idea of being able to walk down your street without fear of getting kidnapped because you are brown. Why is that so radical? These are not ideas of progressives. These certainly should not be ideas of, quote, just Democrats. It should be the ideas of all candidates. And yet we've seen that the Republicans / the MAGAs have decidedly staked their claim to the other side of that fence. And so we as Democrats, as we look at 2026 and as we continue to look at what is happening in our own backyards, because again, I will relentlessly tell you to focus on your local, municipal, state races, because this is an important thing that I want to leave you with. Attorney General Jay Jones in the state of Virginia. Let me tell you why his role is so important. Because it has been Democratic attorneys general that have been leading the charge against this Trump administration when it comes to illegal termination, taking away of funding, grants, money. Birthright citizenship, that battle has been led by attorneys general that are Democrats. And governors like J.B. Pritzker, Kathy Hochul, and Gavin Newsom, those are Democrats that have been standing and holding the line against this illegal and unconstitutional Trump administration. The Attorney General race in Virginia is a state race, and yet we have to give a shit about those races. And that is the reason why we need to be focusing on our gubernatorial races in 2026, our Attorneys General races in 2026. We also need to be focusing on the state races for state senators and state representatives. Why? Because those are also states that are going to be doing things like passing laws in state legislatures to protect our children and to help us have reproductive freedom. We have to be able to focus our attention on multiple races. And yes, we can take a moment in time to enjoy and relish these successes today, but we need to figure out how to cherry pick and take those wins and make them across the board. Because it is our Democratic governors, our Democratic attorneys general, it is our Democratic state senators and state representatives that are fighting because all politics are local. We need to be able to find these quality candidates, find them, support them, and give them your full-throated help in every sense of the word. If it's not financial, then let's do the phone banking, the letter writing, the postcard doing. Let's do what we can do to help get these people across the finish line. I have always said, and you can call me Machiavellian for it, and I won't apologize, we must win. Let's just win. And then we can have the more nuanced conversations that we must have. But in the meantime, I want to win. And I know you want to win too. So share this video far and wide. Let's enjoy these victories while we have them. And in the meantime, let's be mad, let's be outraged, and let's demand accountability, just like all of those millions of voters did yesterday. They demanded accountability, and they're making the Republicans pay. I'm off to rattle cages. See you soon. Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.